All right, guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 running backs heading in the next college football season. I've got about 19, 20 names here, so we'll take a look at some honorable mentions. Then we'll get to the top 10. While I'm moving along, go ahead and join me down in the comment section. Let me know your top running backs heading in the next season. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. All right, so let's go ahead and start here. First off, Penny Boone, currently at Louisville, but he has hit the transfer portal. Last year he was at Toledo, put up some really good numbers. Would have made this list, but the reports are that he got beat out basically during spring ball at Louisville. So he's in the portal again. There's a rumor going around that he's visiting Ole Miss next week, so he could be the replacement for Quinton Judkins. Would be a really good get. 15 touchdowns last year, 1,400 yards rushing. Really good numbers, really big back. All right, Louisville, I thought they could have used him, but apparently they've got somebody better to replace Jawar Jordan. Next up, Antario Brown. All right, Northern Illinois, 10 touchdowns last year, 1,296 yards. Pretty big, bruising back. All right, could have went pro, but decided to run it back. Would have been a later round draft pick probably this year, but decided to run it back. Next up, Damien Martinez, Oregon State, another honorable mention. Currently in the portal, looks like all signs point to him most likely joining Miami to be their running back this season. Last year, 9 touchdowns, 1,185 yards. All right, does have some suitors in the transfer portal at the moment. You know, Oregon State kind of got hit by the transfer bug after their coach left to go to Michigan State. Damien Martinez, really good back. All right, really good ground game last year for Oregon State. Would be a huge get for Miami. Next up, honorable mention, Devin Neal. All right, he was really close to making this list. 16 touchdowns last year, 1,280 yards. All right, with him coming back, and you've got Daniels coming back at quarterback. Kansas could be in play for the Big 12 championship here this year. If Daniels can stay healthy, him and Devin Neal, really good combo in the backfield. Next up, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. All right, he has transferred from New Mexico to Arizona. 17 touchdowns last year. One of the most scoring running backs there is out there. Over 1,000 yards rushing, 1,190 yards total. All right, he's a really good back. Good fit at Arizona, in my opinion. All right, going with Noah Fifita. Now, we don't know what that offense is going to look like exactly with Brent Brennan. Brent Brennan headed to Arizona to be their head coach with Jeb Fish leaving, but really good pairing with Noah Fifita in the backfield, in my opinion. All right, we got a few more on the honorable mention here list. RJ Harvey at UCF, 16 touchdowns, over 1,400 yards. He was a really close cut to making the list of my top 10. You're going to see a lot of Big 12 backs on here. Actually, there's a ton of them. RJ Harvey should be in store for a really good year this year. Next up on the honorable mention list, Jaydn Ott. All right, was probably the closest to making the list that did not make the top 10. 14 total touchdowns, over 1,300 yards rushing. Kind of a pretty good dual threat guy here, but really good out of the backfield for Cal. All right, here we go. Ismail Mahdi, we're getting close to the top 10 again. Another honorable mention at Texas State last year, 10 touchdowns, over 1,600 total yards. All right, so a really good dual threat guy. Can run it, can catch it out of the backfield and make something happen. Really good offense at Texas State last year. I think it'll be even better this year. They've got Jordan McLeod coming over from James Madison at quarterback. Ismail Mahdi should be in for a good year. All right, next on the honorable mention list, Quinton Cooley from Liberty. All right, you've probably seen him play. Rushed for, I think, like 70, 80 yards against Oregon. 16 touchdowns last year, 1,401 yards rushing last year. Liberty had the best rushing offense. If they would have played a little tougher schedule, he would have made the list. All right, so we have officially made the top 10 here. At number 10, Makhi Hughes. All right, coming out of Tulane, 7 touchdowns, 1,378 yards. Some of these guys, we're not going to go directly by stats, okay, because it would be a completely different list. But some of these guys, it kind of depended last year on who is their quarterback. Because if you have a good quarterback, defenses are going to allow some runs. So Makhi Hughes, for example, he had Pratt at quarterback. So they were going to give up a little bit of running room. But I'm curious to see how he can do this year. He could shoot up the board if he has another good year this year. All right, number 9, Donovan Edwards. All right, we have not seen this guy as the full-time starter. We know he can play. All right, if you watched that Washington game, you saw him break off multiple long touchdown runs in the championship. Blake Corum is gone. Blake Corum put up some serious good numbers. But Edwards is now the guy. All right, don't look at the stats because you can't really tell much from him from this list because he was the backup to Blake Corum, which was a Heisman candidate. Edwards, though, I think he's in store for a good year. Now, we're going to see. They don't have the same quarterback. McCarthy's gone. You've got Orji most likely at quarterback, so not as much of a passing threat, but is a dual threat quarterback, can run the ball. So I'm curious to see how Edwards does this year, if he puts up some Blake Corum numbers, because if he does, by the end of the year, he's probably going to be an All-American. All right, number 8, TreVeyon Henderson. All right, he's another one. Can't look at his stats too much. He was injured last year. He's going to split time this year as well with another guy we'll get to on this list in a little bit. But TreVeyon Henderson at Ohio State, really good running back. It feels like he's been there for almost forever now. 11 touchdowns last year, 926 yards, so not that many yards, but like I say, he set out a lot of games, but had some really good rushing games with Kyle McCord at quarterback. So with Will Howard coming in, I think he should be in good shape. Number 7, Kyle Monunga, a guy you might not have heard of, from Rutgers, led the Big Ten in rushing last year, 8 touchdowns, 1,262 yards. He's a bruising back. All right, if you have not watched Kyle Monunga, go look up his highlights. He's pretty good, and with a lesser team, so he's actually having to work instead of, like I said, you've got a really good quarterback. Like for a guy we'll get to in a minute, you've got a really good quarterback, so defenses are naturally going to back up. That's going to allow some more rushing yards. So his stats might not look as good as he actually is, but he is probably one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the Big Ten. All right, number 6, Omarion Hampton. Why can't I say Hampton? Omarion Hampton. All right, 15 touchdowns last year, over 1,500 yards rushing. So this is one I was talking about. You had Drake Maye quarterback, so naturally defenses are going to give up a little bit of run. So I'm curious to see how he does this year, but he is really big. He's a really good back. Now, without Drake Maye, our defense is going to focus on him more probably. So his stats might go down, but his effect in the game is still going to be just as effective. Like I said, he's a really big back, bigger than you would expect from looking at this picture, for example. I like watching him play. Pretty good running back. I'm curious to see, though, like I said, how he can do with a new quarterback. All right, number 5, Quinton Judkins. All right, Ole Miss running back last year, 15 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing. Leader over the past 2 seasons in all of college football in rushing, but he's headed to Ohio State. So him and TreVeyon Henderson, which we just talked about, are going to be splitting carries basically. Judkins, a big bruising guy. All right, Ole Miss really leaned on him a lot last year in the SEC. And I'm curious to see how he does in Ohio State, like as far as if they do some split backfield stuff, what they do with that. But Ole Miss really relied on him a lot last year. Judkins can really play. All right, number 4, Marcus Carroll, a guy you might not have heard of. All right, Georgia State last year is transferring to Missouri to be the replacement for Cody Schrader. Think of the numbers Cody Schrader put up last year in Missouri's offense. I think Marcus Carroll's about to explode. All right, 13 touchdowns, over 1,500 total yards last year. All right, he's headed to Missouri, like I said. I think he's going to put up even better numbers than Cody Schrader did last year because he put up these numbers in Georgia State's offense. Imagine what he's going to do in Missouri's offense with Cook at quarterback. I think Carroll's in for a really good season. All right, now we made the top 3. More Big 12 guys here. All right, number 3, Tahj Brooks at Texas Tech. 10 touchdowns, 1,541 yards last year. Really good running back. I think we're seeing a common theme here. Big 12 might just not be good at rush defense. I don't know. Same with the Big 10. But Tahj Brooks, really good ball player. All right. And did this without a really good quarterback as well last season because their quarterback was kind of injured throughout the year a little bit. So kind of did these stats without having a really good quarterback, like I said. So I think Tahj Brooks, really good running back. Number 2, Ashton Jeanty. All right, 19 total touchdowns last year, over 1,900 total yards. Really good dual threat guy here. Probably the best. All right, I think he had the most receiving yards out of any running back in the nation. Now, he does have a different quarterback this year, so again, we'll see how he does. But again, this is their guy. He could have went almost anywhere in the transfer portal, but decided to run it back at Boise State. Ashton Jeanty should be an All-American this year. All right, number 1, Ollie Gordon. Couldn't be anybody else. 21 touchdowns, 1,732 yards last year. Ollie Gordon, borderline Heisman candidate last year, All-American. And I think Oklahoma State's in store for a big year this year. On the back of Ollie Gordon, I could see them winning the Big 12 championship, making the college football playoff. I think that's definitely in the possibility as their quarterback and their just passing game should be better, which should open up a little bit for Ollie Gordon. But this is my top 10. Let me know your top 10 down in the comment section. Is there anybody I left off that you would add to this list? Is there anybody you would take out of my top 10, move them up and down? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video. And most importantly, subscribe.